That's a weird flavor.
It's sour for you, isn't it?
No, but it tastes like a weird liqueur.
A weird liqueur?
That I got really sick on.
Oh.
When I was a gangsta.
When was that?
I was like 18. You know, Midori comes in a green bottle.
Sour?
I drank like glasses of it.
Ooh.
It's supposed to be mixed in with something. I just remember throwing up green.
Oh.
This Q&A Saturday brought to you by
Ribs.
Ribs. They're a tantalizing sweet and sour licorice.
Innovation in licorice.
Innovation. I like innovations in candy of any sort or stripe. Hey everybody. Hey everybody, Sean with the Good Dog. And we've got the lovely Laura Morgan to my left, which is unusual. Usually she's on my right. She's switching things up on me. We're back. And we're better than ever. And we're ready for action and better than ever. You ready to dive right into this? We're short on time. This lady's got to go places.
Yeah.
You know, got her park already. She's got an expedition ahead of her tonight. So we got to get her going.
Okay. Question number 1. This is from Joanne Treadway.
Hi,
she
Joanne.
says, "Hi, Sean and Laura. I have been devouring your DVD, web videos, Q&As, and blog. I am 63. The dogs I have had in the past were so easy, but now I have a couple of young 40-pound wire-haired mixed breed tumbleweeds. What a challenge. They were hyper dog, people reactive, leash pulling maniacs. But thanks to you, I'm now going places with them and hearing your dogs are so well behaved. So grateful for your life-changing lessons. I have worked long and hard at calming them with the place command, thresholds, healing, and e-collar work. They also have plenty of free time to play and romp with each other. Before I used your training methods, there were a couple of ways I exercised them that got them pretty hyped up. One was chasing a fuzzy toy at the end of a whip-type stick.
Flirt pole.
And the other was taking them one at a time for bike rides with a special bike attachment and harness. Would resuming the chase game just encourage prey drive and lack of impulse control? And would resuming the bike riding encourage leash pulling? I don't want to confuse them and have them revert, so I'm interested in your thought on appropriate play interactions. Is just being rock solid on commands the answer?
This is Joanne? Joanne, first of all, pure awesomeness that you're doing so well with all that stuff, that you're 63 and out there wrangling tumbleweeds and getting them behave. Yeah, it's so awesome. You're my hero, and I aspire to do the same. Okay, so right to your question. So you should be able to go back and forth between high intensity, high excitement, and then quiet, calming dogs down. We do a lot of that stuff here. We call it on and off switch or red light, green light. So we'll purposely get dogs hyped up, run around, give them the break command or release, boom, break. I'll get really animated, we'll play, throw a ball, and then down. Switch your energy, boom, give the command, boom, the dog should be able to go right into a down command and just be quiet and stay relaxed. So it can actually be a really good impulse control strengthener by doing both of those. Now, if you only do the flirt pull and you only do the bike and you don't do the other side of the equation, which you've already started to bring on, which is so awesome, if you don't do that stuff, then you tend to just get hyped up dogs. But because you've already done all this great work, you just have to remind them that this other stuff is just one piece of your puzzle, and then you're also going to have quiet time. And as long as you enforce those rules of the quiet time, the structure, place command, all that stuff, you shouldn't have any problem. They might give you a little challenge at first, and the reason we do it is because when you get the flirt pull and you get the dogs, zooming around, or the bike, you get all this adrenaline rush and the dogs get all excited, and it gets hard for them to concentrate and focus. And that's specifically why we do those exercises, so they learn to work through that stuff and give you their best stuff even when they are hyped up and not focused. So I'd say give it a shot. I mean, if everything goes to hell, then forget what I said, and we'll go back to the old original story, but I don't think you should have a problem. I think you should look at it as a good challenge to bring those things on board and then ask your dogs to go right back to that awesome state of mind that you created, and make sure they've got both those worlds on and off. Yeah, it's so fun. And that's the most fun part about this. So many times we'll get calls from people that are like, my dog's doing this, and they're nutty tumbleweeds, as you say. I love that. But then they're like, but I don't want them to lose their spirit.
And I totally get it. And it feels, it's like once you train the dog, they're like become these little robots. But the whole thing is being able to have that on and off switch is really the beauty of all of this training that we do. That the dog can actually access that calm, but you can also do all the crazy stuff in the world as long as you balance it out. So.
Yeah, the crazy is easy to get. The calm's the hard part. Mm-hmm. So if anybody's like, yeah, my dog is, robotic, or come on. I mean, all you have to do is pull out their favorite toy, get a little hyped up. They should uncork and go crazy. Yeah. It's getting the other stuff that's the hard part of the equation. And you've already done the hard part. So now go have some fun, and then make sure you hold them accountable for the good stuff.
And I want video of you riding the bike with them on a harness. That's awesome. I want to see it.
Cool. Thanks.
Okay, question number 2 comes from Corey Mainit.
Hey, Corey.
Hey, Sean, I've been obsessing over Jim Rohn ever since you put me on to him. What audiobooks, books, and speeches would you recommend? Also, what other speakers would you recommend?
I like this question.
Yeah, it's a fun one.
Okay, anybody who follows me knows that I'm a huge Jim Rohn fan. I'm also a big personal development fan. And that's kind of what got me into the whole dog world and doing this work. And it's been a huge boon to my life changing and improving and progressing and really becoming awesome and fantastic. And then also being able to help and coach other people. It's been really good for all that stuff. So, Corey, awesome question. We haven't had a personal development question, so this is cool. You're the first one. I'll run down a quick list of what I kind of got started with, what really were powerful and really changed my life. And then we'll have Laura just real quickly run down if she's got any that I don't cover. So, Challenge to Succeed by Jim Rohn is a 6 CD. Don't get the abridged. Is a 6 CD, kind of like his magnus opus. Can I say that?
Art of Exceptional Living, right?
Is that what I said?
It's a 60
What
CD.
did I say?
Challenge to Succeed.
Oh, sorry. Challenge to Succeed is a 4 CD. Art of Exceptional Living is his magnum opus. But both of those, if you're into them, if you have one of those, get the other one. They're both awesome in different ways. I love Challenge to Succeed, and I love Art of Exceptional Living as well. Both for different things, but Challenge to Succeed is actually on loop right now in the kennel, and it just plays constantly. So whenever I go into work with dogs, it's always going, and it helps, I think, get the dogs into a better state of mind. Also, he's got tons of YouTube videos, so you can just type in Jim Rohn to YouTube and just have some fun, and you can find some obscure videos and some different periods when he was younger, when he was older, and kind of see what you like, if there's anything that you're crazy about. Darren Hardy is a direct descendant from Jim. He actually was Jim mentored Darren Hardy, and Darren Hardy is the publisher of Success Magazine. Darren Hardy's awesome. He's taken a lot of Jim stuff and kind of run with it and done some of his own things with it that are pretty amazing. He's got some great books. Compound Effect is a great, easy read, and really synthesizes all of the personal development stuff, kind of like the Cliff Notes, all the best stuff into one place in a very easy to read, short, small book. He's also got a ton of keynote speeches that are really awesome. I was just watching one called Darren Hardy in Barcelona 2014. Excuse me. And that's a really great one. And he covers some of the compound effect stuff as well as other things. That's like an hour and 10 minutes or something like that. It's super awesome. But he's got tons of keynotes. So jump in and just see all of those that you can. I wrote down a few notes just to make sure I didn't forget anything. The Go-Giver by Bob Berg and David Mann was a really important book for me. Really talks about giving is the way to get anything that we're really looking for in life, and that the first question to ask is, does what you're doing serve? And it was a really pivotal book for how I structured my business and how I structured everything in my life. But it's just a fantastic book. It's written in parable form. And while that can be weird for some people, this is a really great one, and a lot of people were really inspired by this book. Randy Gage, Why You're Dumb, Sick, and Broke, and How to Get Smart, Healthy, and Rich, I think, maybe something like that. While the title might sound a little inflammatory, Randy's really great at a lot of prosperity consciousness stuff, worthiness issues, a lot of things that people struggle with that they're not even aware are tripping them up with finances, with success, with going after dreams, things like that. That's a great book. He's also got a great blog, years of blogging stuff that you can just dive into and devour for free. Seth Godin, you should get Seth Godin's blog. just sign up, and I get it every morning. I think he's 7 days a week. The guy never quits. Seth is a marketer by trade, but he's got probably 16 books out, and he's also very good at the personal development stuff in a different way. He's kind of got a different angle on things, which is really valuable about just really choosing yourself and giving yourself permission to go out and go after the things that are your special gift. And he says it much more eloquently than I do. And then Larry Winget, what is it? Shut up, stop whining, and get a life. Yeah, I think. Another inflammatory title. Larry is an awesome dude, and he was just the kick in the pants that I needed. He's a little bit less of the warm, touchy-feely side. You love Larry too, right? I love
Larry.
Yeah.
I like his book. It's called Work for a Reason.
Right. He's also called Grow a Pair.
Grow a Pair,
yeah. Larry's a cowboy out, and he's from Oklahoma, but he lives in Arizona now. But he gives a really nice flip side to a lot of this stuff, which is heavy personal responsibility. And one of my favorite quotes from Larry is that if your life sucks, it's because you suck. And it's really true, and it can be harsh when people are looking for why, but I've had it hard. Yeah, but everybody's had it hard. So I love that perspective, and for me, when I was finding my way, it was a really important book for me, and I've read all of his books, and they all have a similar theme of giving you a good kick in the pants. Anything you want to jump in?
No, those are all good.
Awesome.
I love Zig Ziglar audio.
Oh, that's right, Zig.
And I love...
Zig and Jim were contemporaries, and were both giving speeches and touring a lot back in the day together.
Yeah, and Zig's a whole different thing, but he's just he's a good listen, with a lot of audio stuff. And Success Principles by Jack Canfield is a really, really good one. You can get the audiobook for that, too. It's a really good audiobook. I love that one. And then,
you like Brian Tracy, too.
I like Brian Tracy, yeah. I have a ton of Brian Tracy stuff.
Corey, you're regretting asking this question, aren't you? You've got like a list that Santa's crying over.
All right, we're done with that.
All right, Corey, thanks. But jump into some of those and let me know what you think. Yeah. Any one of those are just fabulous. You can't go wrong.
Okay, question number 3. This is from Shannon Morris.
Hey, Shannon.
And also Lara Stevens said...
They co-authored this?
She co-authored. She said, I'd love to hear what Shannon's answer, because I have a similar situation. So Shannon's question is, I have trouble with leash aggression. Darcy is my 1.5-year-old rescued pit mix. We've had her for 1 year. She's sweet, smart, loves people, knows basic commands, but... when they're out walking, she barks and lunges at other dogs. She's great at the dog park and good with dogs off leash. They've used a prong harness and natural leader collars, doesn't matter. She lunges and pulls at all dogs that we pass. I'm embarrassed and resorted to walking her off at times so people don't think I have an aggressive dog. Help.
Walking her off?
Walking her away, probably.
Okay.
Walking her off, yeah.
One thing you could do is disguise yourself.
Yeah.
You get some of those funny glasses
with a mustache.
And the nose.
And then people will be like, who is that? I don't know who that is, but she has an
has
aggressive
a terrible dog. You're like, okay. That's probably not much help. Probably not what you're looking for.
That was our advice. We should do an April Fool's one.
Yeah.
Where we do all these
throw
answers.
Throw a book at your dog.
Throw a book at him.
Hit him with a broom. Okay. That's an inside joke, not what we recommend. Okay, so you haven't done e-collar yet with your dog, and you've done prong, you've done a lot of other tools. So I would say that it's a pity, it's a young pity, and a lot of the pitties are just super drivey and really intense, and it's really hard for them to cope with. I think she said on leash was the problem, but off leash is good.
Off leash is great.
Yeah, so a lot of dogs get this barrier frustration or leash frustration stuff. And can be good in other situations, but they struggle on the walks. So they're not able to channel or do anything that they want to do because they're in a structured situation. When they're off leash, they're able to move and groove, and so they don't build up this whole intensity stuff. But the fact is that they're in a urban situation, and they need to be able to handle that. So you can walk down the street without a disguise on and live a life. So. What I'd suggest is, since you've used these other tools, I heartily recommend that you go to an e-collar. If we get a reactive case here, and they've already been on prong, we don't mess around. We go straight to e-collar. We don't do any heavy duty reactivity cases without e-collar, because it's it's the best tool for it, and a lot of other tools can manage or even be harder or exacerbate, but the e-collar done right 99% of the time makes things so much better, so much more, really quickly. So, of course, there's still work involved and things like that, but that would be the tool I'd really recommend that you check out. I have several videos. Sorry, I've got candy throat. Sweet and sour candy. I'd recommend my e-collar recall video, my e-collar heel, and at least start with those, and that way you can collar condition your dog appropriately so he understands what the e-collar means. And then once you get, your real prime focus is that you've got to get a really nice heel happening where your dog is doing that hard work of staying right next to you with zero pressure or tension on the leash, and they're doing all that work. And if they're not, you're correcting them for it once you've trained them. And that really affects the state of mind. I've also got an e-collar place command video, and I would check that out because you need some interior stuff too, because it's not just like, I know you're struggling in one situation, but I would try and leverage every moment you can to create more impulse control and more structure to where you can leverage that when you head outside. So those are the three things I'd get into, and then I'd look for an immaculate walk. And when you get decent with the e-collar and your dog is healing really nicely, you can use it. You have to use space still to where you don't get too close to other dogs, so you can mitigate how much pressure you and your dog are feeling, but then you can use the e-collar to correct and break focus in a way that should de-escalate your dog considerably more than a prong or harness or any of these other tools like that. And we recommend the e-collar technologies. Mini Educator 300. You can get them off Amazon, and it looks just like this. How's that for product placement? Greg Van Kuren, right? He's the guy who owns this. Send us free collars, Greg. But they work really great, and they're really inexpensive. I think they're $180, and they're super awesome. So that's what I'd recommend. That's where I'd head, and then let us know how you do. It's going to take a little bit of work, but I'd say in a couple weeks, if you're really diligent, and you watch those videos and you do the work, you should be able to get a different response. And you have to use space. You can't just dive in and hope your dog can make it through high pressure stuff. So you got to start small and then incrementally get closer and closer. Cool?
Okay, question number 4. This is from Becky Priner.
Hey, Becky.
Priner.
Who?
I don't know. Becky.
Let's call her Becky.
Firstly, I love all your videos and advice and what you do for troubled dogs. Thank you.
Thanks, Becky.
I have a 1.5-year-old border collie, socialized, obedience trained, great with dogs at the dog park, but not on leash.
Nope.
The minute I put the leash on, she
becomes
becomes very reactive. I've gotten to the point where we can walk by dogs and she no longer reacts.
You sound like Borat for a second.
Sorry.
No longer
I can't.
reacts.
It's because of the candy. Like my
tongue
is
numb. I know. We've been mauling the sweet and sour candy over
You guys
there.
can see I've been eating it this entire time. Okay. I've gotten to the point where we can walk by dogs and she no longer reacts. I can be in the same room. After a bit of grumbling and a few corrections and redirection, she works well with other dogs in the area, but she can't greet or smell dogs without going for a bite. She could be sitting next to me, no tension on the leash, initial sniff goes okay, and then when the other dog moves closer, she lunges.
Yeah.
Great with dogs off leash, walks her with a prong on 6-foot lead. When we walk by in a dog, I keep her in a heel, but I have slack on her line, and she walks pretty good, watches the dog pass, then resumes watching in front of her. So she's doing great. Wow. It's just if the dog approaches. So
you got a really specific situation there. That's I've seen it before. It's not the most usual, but I've seen it before. So your dog's doing well in a lot of other contexts, but on leash she's feeling trapped and feeling stuck and feeling nervous and proactive, defensive, and so it's a challenging one. A couple ways you can go. I mean, I'm sorry to stimulate you there, but for one, you can ask yourself, do I want to keep putting my dog in a situation on leash where they're feeling pressured? Like, am I just creating expectations that I've got this awesome dog and, my dog's got this, little quirky thing and feels pressured and uncomfortable? Like we can feel, we can all have baggage and quirks about certain things. So I check in with that. I'm not saying you have inappropriate expectations, and I'm not saying throw in the towel or any stuff like that. I'm just saying check in with it and make sure that, you know, it's not getting on a perfectionist tip, that your dog is doing really well but has this one thing where they feel really tense and uncomfortable. So that's one thing to check in with. The other thing is that if you really want to try and tackle it, what I'd recommend, you're doing all the other stuff really well, is I'd probably just do food protocols. And that means that I would only, and that means only, 0 other places, I would only feed your dog when she's on leash around other dogs like that. And so there's a difference between like giving treats or giving rewards when your dog's sitting next to another dog or in a stressful situation or something they're uncomfortable with, and only feeding when they're in those contexts. It gives a lot more leverage, a lot more value to that conversation. And if your dog's stressed about something, oftentimes they won't even take a treat because there's not enough motivation, there's not enough leverage there. But if the dog is hungry and they're only getting fed in those situations, then you got a lot more leverage, and then the emotional impact from that food, from that reward, from that communication of what you're sharing is a lot more valuable. It's a lot more leverage. It's a lot more escalated as far as the impact. So if you really want to try and tackle it, then that would be something that I would take a look at. It's, you know, otherwise, without seeing your dog, it's really hard for me to, you know, if I was watching, I might be able to see something and go, well, there's this going on. But from this vantage point, which is not very vantaged, I would suggest gauging your expectations, and then if you feel like you're right on the money about it, then I would go with food protocols and only calm reactions right next to another dog. Of course, the other dog has to be cool too. You can't, you know, make it unfair to your dog and say, you got to sit there and I know you're nervous and this other dog's a wreck next to you. So you want to, you know, start with really easy dogs. But that's really the concept of, you only get this life-sustaining, very important thing when you're in this situation that you really hate. And then the thing is, okay, I don't hate this so much anymore because I'm getting this life-sustaining. It's almost like me with the candy, you know. Anyways, so I digress. But that's what I'd suggest. Take a look at that and see what you think. See if it makes sense to you.
Yeah, I just want to jump in here, and I think that, like, I don't think that dogs should meet on leash anyway. Like, we don't suggest it with our dogs. I would never, my dog's totally balanced, and I would never put him in that situation. And not saying you're putting your dog in any situation, but I think there's this thing about dog ownership, about dogs like meeting on leash. Like, we hear it all the time. Is your dog friendly? Right. And you do the whole thing. And I totally get it. There's a lot of peer pressure with it, but no, my dog's not into that. It's like, if every person I had to meet, like someone was like holding on to my shoulders, I'd be like, come on, like, this is weird. I don't like this. So I think you just, even more, I mean, the food protocols are great, but advocate for your dog. She's telling you, she's like, look, I'm a badass on the walk. I'm great with dogs off leash. I'm great inside the house. I'm awesome, but I don't like that. Just honor it, I feel like.
Yeah. Well, and it's great stuff. And there's a reason that so many dogs, you know, we've already had that in these questions so far, but so many dogs do well off leash and struggle on leash. It's because it's an unnatural way for them to socially engage, right? Yeah. So we're putting a lot of pressure on them to interact in a way that is unnatural and in a way that is uncomfortable because they don't have options to keep themselves safe. They're stuck. So imagine me taking you somewhere where you're nervous and putting you like on a leash.
Forced friendship. Forced friendship. Like, if you would be in a room and people were like, okay, get in a conversation, they'd be like, oh, she's really antisocial. She doesn't like
arranged marriage.
Yeah, she doesn't like conversation. You're like, no, I like conversation. I just like it when I'm the one that's, when it's natural, when it's the way. Yeah. I just think there's a lot of stuff with leash tension and all that stuff, and it sounds like your dog's pretty awesome otherwise. Yeah. The last thing you want to do is start to erode trust, you know? It's like, she's going to be like, you're not keeping me safe, so I got to take care of it, you know? I'll snap at this dog. You're not advocating for me. I know you are. So I'm not putting you on the line.
It doesn't sound like you're letting dogs, you know, we haven't seen the interactions, but it doesn't sound like you sound pretty savvy. Yeah. You're not letting dogs, you know, kind of manhandle her, get really into her space in a pushy fashion. But if she doesn't feel comfortable with it and she's being forced to be in that situation, she's pretty uncomfortable, you know. So anyway, I think we covered it.
Let's know question number 5. This is Lauren Heary. She says, Lauren. Hi, Sean and Laura.
Hi.
My question is around some aggression. My 2.5-year-old rescued red Aussie shows on leash. She's typically good until we arrive at a house we know a dog lives at, and it barks at her, or worse, we're taken by surprise at a new dog barking at us from behind the fence.
Canine snipers.
It doesn't matter if she can see the dog through the fence or not. Once Mr. Fence Dog starts barking, she'll return fire, lunge, and be a tart about it all.
A tart? Are we in Britain?
I like that. She won't instigate it. I move her past by capturing attention, but walking a similar route means I can prepare us. The problem is that, using the same route, she leaves fired up from the house, pulling, excited, barks, and as we approach the fence dog houses, I go the same route because her reaction to known fence dogs is lesser on the explosion scale. She was leash reactive before, but they moved past that, but this fence thing is going much, much slower. Should I introduce her to a prong to calm her state of mind on the walks before introducing an e-collar, or can e-collar work be an instant go-to in this situation? I'm leaning towards prong first to lower her anxiety levels and get her mentally with me, but I'm keen to hear your thoughts. She tried to pet convince her, but British. Yeah, she's keen. Yeah.
No one's keen in the States.
No one's keen. Yeah.
And they don't get all tarted up either.
She tried pet convince her too.
Okay, great.
But that didn't work.
What's her name?
Lauren.
Lauren. Mm-hmm. Okay, Lauren. So a lot of dog reactivity questions.
Yeah.
I'd say always start easiest. Start cheapest and easiest. Prong collar, if you haven't used it, definitely give it a shot. See what you get. Watch the structure. I think it's just called The Walk. That how-to video. I check that out. Do thresholds. Do place. If you do, it's kind of like my dog owner survival guide. So you do structured walk, thresholds, place command, and crate. You really are bringing some serious stuff to bear on the state of mind for your dog. So I'd try leash and prong, get it started, see what you get. You have to make sure you're using space, especially with these we have a route around here that when we're taking board and train dogs. There's a couple of houses that have those canine snipers, and there's one today that was really intense, and there's 2 dogs behind the fence, and they're just really, really nutty. So I know it's coming, so I always veer out. I don't cross the street, but I veer out just to diminish some of that pressure that the dog's feeling, so they don't feel because I get startled too, so I know that, and I'm more comfortable because I know we're safe and I know those dogs aren't coming out. The dog, doesn't know all that, and the dog can be more stressed out about it. So to mitigate some of that pressure, just give them you're coming, here's the house. Like this. Here's the house with the bad dog. Come like this, and then give a nice little, so your dog really feels an active choice by you to relieve some of that pressure. So he starts to feel, oh, mom's really taking care of this, or she's feeling the mom's really taking care of this. So their comfort level and the trust starts to raise. You have to go for an immaculate heel. I've already said this to a couple different questions, but there's a reason for it. I mean, it works so well for us. It's such a big component of how we get dogs' state of mind right, is that heel. Everybody's like, well, why? I'm telling you, because it's hard, because dogs don't want to do it because they want to do these other things. Getting a dog to stay right there when they want to do all these other things is such a big piece of leverage that is the beginning, the building blocks. I don't know why I'm looking over here. Is the building blocks for getting those same choices to be made when they're around other things they don't want to do or they want to do, right? So your dog wants to run to a tree or sniff the ground or pull in front of you, and you say, no, here are the rules and you have to do this, and your dog goes, cool, I got it, I'll give you that. And then when the dog hears another dog barking and wants to bark or go crazy, you've already patterned your dog to practice impulse control, self-regulation, and to defer to you and mind these rules. So you're really building some context for your dog to work from of that foundational kind of state of mind and rules that you're looking for, rather than just going towards the sniper dog and saying, okay, now there's consequences for escalating. Mm-hmm. So it's much better if you build all that stuff way before you get there, so you have all that foundational stuff to where your dog is like, I'm used to walking here. I'm used to listening to you. I'm used to even though I want to sniff the ground, I say no because mom's such a badass. I'm going to just like do my thing and not tart it up and be super awesome. And then you get around the dog and you get around the sniper dog and your dog's like, I'm not even going to bother with that.
I'm good.
Or if your dog is partway there and it doesn't give you the magical, complete, transformation like that, but you're going to get a much lower intensity. You're going to get a much lower reaction than what lower is not the right word, but a much
more mild.
Yeah, a milder reaction around there because the state of mind. We always talk about stress levels. I'll do this real quick for you guys. So stress levels. Here's where your dog explodes. If your dog lives here, right at like 6, there's very little cushion between where explosion point hits. Now, what we work real hard on here at the Good Dog is to keep dogs. Hopefully, you can see all this in my hands.
Yeah.
We try and keep dogs at like a 1 or a 2, and then we have all this room. So even if a dog barks at them, they fluctuate like this, but we've got all this wiggle room before they hit where the explosion happens. So that's really a big trick of this, is keeping that intensity down in a lot of contexts. Not about creating zombie dogs, but creating dogs that are used to being in a more mild, relaxed fashion. And then you take that mindset all over the place, and then they have much different reactions towards those triggers. And if they do have reactions, they're much more mild, and they're much more easy to handle and manage. So thresholds, crate, place, and structured walk with the prong collar. Check it out. Also, little corrections for the first, and I've already said this before, but I'll say it again. The second that your dog the ears come up, the forehead wrinkles, do not wait to see if your dog is going to react. Your dog is going to react most likely, and you're going to miss the moment if you wait. So most dog owners wait because they don't want to correct. They want to give the dog benefit of the doubt, and the mind starts to escalate, and then we have this, and now you're right here, really close. So your dog starts to escalate, correct, bring them back down to here. Right? Do it the split second the ears come up or the forehead wrinkles, or you hear like even breathing change. Go after them right there. Get rid of that. Bring them right back down to ground zero so they relax. And as far as the e-collar, try everything we just suggested, and then let us know how you're doing. And if everything's magic, then you don't need it. And if everything's not magic, this is the one, right? About the e-collar,
yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then if everything's not magic and you still, after a month of working, then you can always try the e-collar and see what you get.
Yeah. We got question number 6, Dan Goldstein.
Hey, Dan. Dan's a regular dude on the Good Dog stuff.
Dan says, just simply, off-leash recall, especially amidst high-value distractions.
Amidst. I have one answer for you. This is it. Can you see it? I only do recall training with an e-collar. I don't mess around with training it on leash. Not that dogs can't be trained to a high level of reliability on traditional kind of fashion. They can, but I'm not down with the lack of reliability with that.
Risk.
For regular owners and dogs that have got issues, the dogs we see, so many of them have got prey drive issues or self-regulation issues and stuff like that. So the only way that I do it is with an e-collar, and that's how you get 100%. When I call you, you get your butt back here, no matter if there's an army of squirrels marching towards your dog. Your dog's like, I'm out of here, and they come right back. So that's a simple answer, Dan. E-collar, mini educator. Get one of those if you don't have one, and watch my e-collar recall videos. Excuse me. I'm choked up when I talk about this. It's a good one. I feel like we're rocking and rolling. I feel like there's good juice today. I think it's the candy.
Okay.
You can be able to read this one.
Question number 7. I just swallowed it. Tania Shadowski.
Hey, Tania.
Or it could be Tanya.
Okay.
Or Tania, yeah. I have a protective and territorial 90-pound, 2.5-year-old male GSD.
What does that stand for?
German Shepherd dog.
Okay, look at you.
I know that.
She's improving since last.
Oh my gosh. At home, he's territorial and protective. We very seldom get people visiting us, maybe 3 times a year. My brother, who my dog only sees about twice a year when he visits, is coming next month for a few days. Is there anything I can do to get my dog used to my brothers and accept them in my home? In the past, I've kept him kenneled. I have some ideas involving a basket muzzle. Since the visits are so infrequent, I wonder if the stress for everyone involved is worth it and whether I would achieve very much. I would appreciate your thoughts on this. So real quick about him, he ignores strangers unless they pet him, and then he either continues ignoring them or tries to get more pets.
Yeah.
He barks at males' feet and snaps at their shoes if they've attempted to approach me while I've been under extreme stress, anxiety, at the verge of crying. At home, he barks so aggressively at visitors, I simply kennel him. Better safe than sorry. He's trained in advanced competitive obedience.
Well, okay. Tania. Okay, so you got some, and I'm not laughing at your situation. I'm laughing just because so many German Shepherds have this issue. We've had so many clients with this stuff, and including the one sitting next to me on my left. It's a really good question whether you want to tackle it or not, because the basket muzzle is not going to do anything except not allow him to bite. So he'll probably still be very stressed out, and he'll still probably lunge. He might muzzle punch people and growl and still make a scene. Chances are he'll still be very uncomfortable around people. He just won't be able to bite and follow through. So it's a real good question about whether you want to try and tackle it or not. If you only have people that come over 3 times a year, then maybe you don't. It's really up to you. But if you're finding you have more challenges and headaches kind of like everywhere, even on the walks, it sounds like there's stuff, then you have to really look at, tackling this thing head on if you want to. You've got some relationship issues and state of mind issues going on with your dog. Obviously, you've got a highly trained dog, competition obedience, but that's, as we've seen lots of times, doesn't mean that the relationship and the state of mind's in the right gear. Because German Shepherds should have a protective component, but they shouldn't be off the rails. It shouldn't be to a place to where they're unsafe and not controllable. So that means things are out of balance. So I'd take a look at your relationship. I'd take a look at what does your dog mean to you? What does he represent? Are you leaning on him emotionally? And this isn't to call you out. It's just to kind of check in for you.
Questions,
yeah, most of us have had issues with that, and people that have gotten into dog work. I know myself personally have had issues with that in the past. So really check in, are you a really strong, firm leader that doesn't snuggle and spoon with this dog and cause him to have any mixed messages about where things are at relationship-wise? So that's stuff to really, really take a peek at. As far as the approach, I would go for if it's competition obedience, I don't know if you guys are doing e-collar work. Probably not, I imagine. But I would have him on e-collar, and I would start doing work with him. I would start teaching him a ton of impulse control, and I'd start correcting him for growling at people and things like that. You could also add food protocols in there whenever, in conjunction with this stuff, the state of mind stuff. You could only feed him whenever, people are around, whenever, especially strange men, if those are the triggers for him. But it's a big one, it's a big dog, and it's a big problem, and it's a big enchilada to try and, go after. So I would personally, if I was you, I'd go after some help to help you tackle it. Trying to do this all on your own can be a challenging one. So if you've got anybody in your area that understands behavior mod, not just like obedience and competition obedience training, but behavior mod and state of mind work, then I would take a look at them. If you need a recommendation, just you can message us on Facebook or email us at thegooddog.la@gmail.com, thegooddog.la@gmail.com, and we'll put you in touch with somebody. But really, it's up to you. Take a look whether you want to try and tackle it. If you do want to tackle it, look at the relationship, be real honest with yourself, and take a peek at what's cooking between the two of you guys. And once again, are you leaning on him emotionally? How's everything else in your life? All that good stuff. Those are important questions to ask. Typically, when we lean on our dogs, is because other things are not right, sure wasn't with me when I was working on my stuff. So that, and then full blown, you know, like interior, e-collar, duration work, structure, corrections for any like little mild or any like weird stuff like that, and really get him to exist in a more calm, controlled, and most importantly, led. Like, not just led when you're doing competition obedience, but led in your home, led in, you know, shouldn't be on the couch, shouldn't be on the bed, shouldn't be anything that's going to be a mixed message that's going to make it harder for him to succeed and make the choices that you want him to make. But I would really recommend a professional help for that.
Don't let these shepherds rely on themselves.
Yeah.
They're looking for guidance, in my opinion. But we don't have as much, like, these types of guys, like, where they're more competition, like, more like... We deal with a lot of anxious, nervous guys that have that working line, but they're conflicted.
A lot of the shepherds are like that.
Similar stuff, yeah.
Yeah, so anyways, just have a look at all that stuff, and then, you know, have a real heart-to-heart decision, you know, with yourself about what you want to do and how you want to move forward with it.
Yeah, but just practically, you know, if that situation's coming up really quick, I would just kennel him in another room. Just take all the stress away from him and you and your brother. He doesn't need to be out. And
what a drag, like, if your brothers only visit once in a while, you don't have to be worried about your dog.
Nah, don't worry about it.
That, you know, and to be honest, like, that kind of speaks to some stuff, you know? So, if I was, you know, a friend of yours, I would be recommending that, you know, your dog plays second fiddle, your dog goes away, and you hang out with your family and enjoy them, and dog just, you know, hangs out in the crate, you know, until you get a handle on all this stuff. But you want to make sure that you're not putting this pressure for, like, everybody to be cool when they're not cool. That takes a lot of work to get to that place. Yeah. So we've worked with a lot of shepherds like this, and you can make great progress, but it really takes a whole big approach to make it happen. Where are we at here?
We are question number 8. Natasha Radovsky. Until recently, my 18-month-old intact lab has been a sweetheart. He's never been aggressive or bitten a person or dog. He's been trained in obedience with e-collar, gets agility training, walks off leash daily. Help, Elron.
I'll get him.
Okay. And we have firm rules established in our house. Hey guys, just you and I. He's very friendly. However, recently he's been acting aggressively towards some of the dogs that bark and growl at him. He never starts the fight first, but when another dog is growling at him, he starts growling back and lunges at the dog. No contact has been made so far, thank God. I think he's probably on leash, right? I was told that I need to neuter him to correct the issue, but I'm not sure that's the right way to solve the problem.
I think he's at a dog park. I don't think he's on leash.
She doesn't say that. The dogs that are acting aggressively towards him bark and growl at him. He never starts the fight first, but when another dog's growling, he starts growling back and lunges. No contact has been made. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It sounds like dogs are, like, very close to each other.
Yeah, might be on a walk, but I was told that I need to neuter him to correct the issue, but I'm not sure if that's the right way. Any words of wisdom?
I don't know if neutering's going to help. I mean, neutering can have some effect. Sometimes it doesn't have any effect. So a lot of controversy around neutering and behavior mod and stuff like that. So dare I step into those treacherous waters? I've only recommended it once with a dog that was really, really having some serious problems, and we were trying to... No. Did we recommend with Gremlin?
Well, we were kind of... No, I don't know.
There might be 2 dogs, but the Moxie, the Dobie with Brenda. And so, anyways, it could have some small thing, or it could have nothing to do with it. But more importantly, what's happening is that he's at that age where he's starting to mature and starting to show you different behaviors. So most people that show up here, they show up between like a year and a half and 3 years old, when dogs start to mature and you start to see behavior come to the fore that you hadn't seen prior. So puppy and early adolescent stuff, you oftentimes don't see insecurities as strong. You don't see nervous reactions as strong. And that's what tends to fuel the aggression, or the reactivity, stuff like that. So you tend not to see it when they're young, and then all of a sudden, like, where's this coming from? So as they mature, you start to see this stuff come to the fore. and it can also be a byproduct. We're not sure if your dog's at a dog park or if it's on leash, but if your dog's been around, especially in a dog park environment, other dogs that are being, like you keep saying, not you keep saying, but you mentioned that it's when other dogs growl first. So if it's in a dog park situation, then that means that he's around not well-behaved dogs that are pushing his buttons and causing him to lose trust. And that's causing him to be reactive, and he's starting to be less puppy adolescent and more, hey, enough of this crap, I'm going to, let you know I don't like this. If it's on leash, then we've got a whole different thing. He shouldn't be that close to lunging dogs. If he's walking with you and there's another dog lunging at you, you guys should definitely give him some space so he can feel comfortable with that. It's hard to get real clarity with your, and no diss on your comment, but it's hard to get real clarity about it.
No matter what, you have e-collar training on board, so all that stuff beforehand, dog park's one thing, but if you are walking him, you should be able to correct as soon as you start to see that interest, because that interest isn't turning into something great right now, right? Is that where we're going?
Yeah, well, I mean, here's the deal. So, with my guys, because they're really used to a ton of bad dogs, they've seen it all, and because they know that I'm going to protect them and keep them safe, I'm not going to let dogs attack them. Even if dogs are close and misbehaving on walks or in the house, they won't react. But I've built that, it's taken a long time of building that trust, and you only get that by going out and doing it. And so I've done it by making sure other dogs don't get close enough to my dogs to freak them out. And I've also done it by making sure that if my dogs get sassy, that I shut them down in a pretty effective fashion. And they know that not only am I going to protect them, but I'm also not going to allow them to misbehave or escalate or operate from that place. So I control everything. I control their behavior, I control the other dog's behavior, and then I control my behavior. So those are three big components. You get those three pillars right, then you can walk down the street and it doesn't really matter what other dogs do. But until you get all of that rock solid, and it sounds like if your dog's lunging, there's some missing pieces of your puzzle there. You either don't have the trust built up, you've allowed dogs to intrude too much, or you haven't inhibited your dog from making those choices enough, and so, or you've tried to, but you've waited a second too late, and your dog has escalated and gotten into this habit and this pattern of doing it. So those are all things to look at. I mean, all I can picture in my mind when I picture your situation, which is hard because I don't know it, but when I picture in your situation, all I can picture is tiny little moments that aren't being locked down and addressed, and timing stuff like slipping by you, like seconds. The walk maybe not being as perfect as it needs to be for your dog to be in a calm state. Letting your dog escalate without getting him right away. Letting another dog, kind of really push into your space. All those kinds of things. I can, I'm just picturing little stuff like that I'd be going after. So, did I miss anything?
No, that's good.
Yeah.
Just we'd love a little bit more clarity on the situation, but it sounds like you were saying the big thing is that, we get a lot of these happy-go-lucky guys, and then 18 months they start going, whoa, I'm going to get you before you get me, or they're more anxious about dogs.
Floyd. Floyd's like a sweetheart of a dog. I don't know if you guys remember Floyd, but Floyd was like a labby, black labby, and mixed with something else. And sweet guy, and but really got super reactive. I can't remember how old he was, but he started to get really reactive stuff. And, did the e-collar stuff and went after all those things that I just shared with you. And he's now doing fantastic around dogs, but it's every little, I can't stress enough, it's all these little moments. It's not like being around dogs and don't you misbehave.
Right.
It's 1,000 moments before you get there that allow that moment to transpire in a positive fashion. Okay. How are we doing time-wise?
Okay. Question number 9. We're okay.
Okay.
Danielle Ford. She says,
Danielle.
Hi. We're caring for a foster English Bull Terrier. She's 5 years old, and she has been through some recent stress, including a home fire and a hypothyroid diagnosis. As soon as we got her, I noticed odd behavior. She's very disconnected. She spins excessively, and nothing but crating will stop her. She's been very bossy and dominant with me and wants to lick my 18-month-old excessively. She nips at me when I...
18-month-old child? Or?
Yeah, I think so. She nipped at me when I moved her head away. That's... Oh. Yeah. I have 2 current dogs and 2 other fosters. She's also dominant to my 16-year-old geriatric dog. Compounds with never being leash trained properly, and her stress with the leash being put on is creating a conundrum. Help, please.
What was her name again?
Oh, I just lost it. Sorry.
Okay. Well, so we've seen a fair amount of this, and English Bull Terriers, you know, unfortunately, are a bit notorious for having some OCD issues. A lot of the, you know, like some of the bulldogs, a lot of the, you know, these purebreds that have been just bred a ton for looks and not a ton for really solid mind stuff. A lot of them are compromised, and so it sounds like one of those. Now, it doesn't mean that's hopeless, but it does mean that it's something to really take into account. So you said disconnected, something we see a lot with dogs that have cognitive issues. They don't connect. We were just talking about that today on the walk. Spinning, I think she said.
Spins excessively.
Yep, that's an OCD move that I've seen several times. Licking, all that. And then, but also like lacking inhibition, lacking any kind of impulse control, like nipping and things like that, the dominant behavior. I can picture it in my mind because I've seen it several times, and it's kind of like has a frenzied flavor to it.
Like Jax.
Yeah, Jax and actually Rocky.
Yeah.
You know, it's got a frenzied thing to it that is kind of... It's a weird situation. So obviously, without seeing your dog, I can't give any, like, you know, definitive diagnosis or prognosis. But what I'd say is that I'd be really careful if that's an 18-year-old baby or 18-month-old baby. I would be keeping that baby away from this dog. Dog. Please don't let that dog be anywhere near your baby. And then I would just, all I can recommend is that you do a serious training program. You know, if you're not able to do e-collar work, then leash and prong and follow all my videos with everything that we talk about. If you go through our Learn to Train the Good Dog Way videos, the free do-it-yourself ones, we've got like the whole course there. And if you run through those and you really like do a ton of duration work with a dog like this that's out of its tree, will be very, very helpful. It'll be like meditation for this dog to help calm that mind, slow that mind down. A lot of times we see OCD behavior start to fade when we start to enforce and share a lot of structure and a lot of rules and a lot of accountability. I would give very little affection, very little like play stuff, and I would go very heavy on the structure, very heavy on the rules, very heavy on the leadership, all that stuff, and see if you can't kind of slow the mind down, get the mind to be more respectful, more deferential, and calmer to where you can really see this dog's true colors and get a feel for what it's capable of. It may surprise you. Once you do all that work, I mean, a couple weeks in, it may surprise you, and you may go, wow, this dog, you know, was just, like you said, stressed out and kind of losing its marbles, and the stress was triggering all this stuff. And after you do this, the dog might be, you know, tremendously improved. Or you might see it's an ongoing battle, and you're really managing this dog who's got, you know, who's cognitively compromised, and that does unfortunately happen. You know, we do get dogs like that are cognitively compromised. Hopefully you can hear me. There's an airplane landing on the roof. We do get dogs like that, and in severe cases, it really is like a certain amount of acceptance if you're going to hold on to the dog, you know, a certain amount of acceptance of
there's a foster.
There's yeah. I just was saying in general, but just there's a ceiling about in regards to how far the dog can get because the dog is compromised. So train it up and then find out what the dog's capable of, and then you'll really get a better feel for where you're at with all that. But until then, just be really, really careful, and I wouldn't be giving this dog very many privileges. entrance into your personal space, any of that stuff. It's work, kick butt time if you want to really give this dog the best shot at seeing who he is and try and crack that case and get him better.
Okay, question number 10.
Bam.
Big question number 10. We got it from Artem.
Artem,
our favorite dude.
Dude, you're the Ukrainian
dog whisperer.
Yeah, he's the Ukrainian good dog affiliate.
Yeah,
he
really is.
Always here.
How
cold?
Sean and Lara.
Cold? You got to let me know how cold is it in Ukraine.
It's got to be cold.
Yeah. It was what is it? 73 today.
Yeah.
We're actually complaining because it's too warm.
It's too warm. I can't wear my bomber jacket.
Right? Can't even wear a jacket here. So you have to compare notes with us. How the Ukraine's doing.
So when Artem says, when you have a one-on-one session with dog owners on their property and you see what you're constantly seeing, which is dogs who have zero impulse control, anxious, excited, stressed, all that other stuff, what do you usually suggest owners do? In the 2 to 3 hours of a session, it's just hard to explain, show, and teach all foundation exercises.
Yep.
So what minimum do you suggest to do except to get better tools like prong and e-collar? I'm asking about activities that you recommend to do owner with their dog to change the situation, like structured walk, thresholds, place, etc.
Right. Artem, buddy. Okay, so this is a good question because it's one of the things that I struggled with a lot, and I know a lot of train the trainers when we do our seminars, and a lot of up and coming trainers. It's one of the biggest. There's a lot of people who have really good training skills, and the structuring the sessions is one of the most challenging things. I was a big, Laura was a client of mine, and I was a big culprit of stretching sessions way too long. And adding
1 hour that I paid for turned into 6. We were gone on the walk for
that's a little
6
excessive.
Hours, and my friends came over and they were like, "We thought you were dead."
So I was very thorough and I like to help.
Yeah.
But what we found, and it was really great to have Laura on the team. You ate all the ribs.
Do you want one last one?
No, I don't. Good. Go ahead. What we found out was that what I thought was helping by giving more was actually harder for the client and harder on the dog and harder on you. So as challenging as it is, because we all want to do well and we all want to help people and we all want to really make an impact and do it as quick as possible, it's actually easier for all parties involved to really kind of limit how much you try and get done in a session. So I think, was Artem saying a 2 to 3 hour session? Is that what he's saying? So we typically do a 2 hour session for our first one like that, when the dog comes in and, like you said, it's a wreck and all that stuff.
We never do one-offs, so.
Yeah, we don't do one-offs, we only do packages. So it's that might be another sticking point, which is great point. So when I started working, doing this stuff originally, I was just doing one-off sessions. You call me out for an hour or 2 hours, we do work, and I may never see you again, which puts a ton of pressure on you because you're like, well, I may never see that client again, so I want to give them everything and make sure they know all this stuff.
Or I want to show them some change so they hire me again.
Right. Either way, it ends up putting a ton of pressure, which is why we're such big advocates for doing packages, not to get money from clients, but to make sure that you set everybody up for success. So you don't stress the dog out, don't stress yourself out, don't overwhelm the owner. It sets everybody up to succeed. So that said, we do if we're doing an in-home session, we do 4 sessions, and the first one's 2 hours, and then 1 hour, 1 hour, 1 hour. And in that, typically what we try and do is we establish a little rapport. We sit down for a little bit and get to know everybody, get comfortable, because trust is a big part of this. They already know they're going to use a prong collar or an e-collar. We've already discussed it on the phone before they ever set foot in the door, so that's stuff that we've already got out of the way. If we're going to do a prong, then we introduce the prong to the dog, or e-collar. We're going to start there. But basically what we try and tackle is, after we sit down and talk 15, 20 minutes, something like that, it's thresholds, walk, and place. I mean, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. Those are typically the 3 things if the dog's not out of its mind. I mean, if the dog is a disaster, we may not get to place. We may only get to thresholds and the walk. But if you're doing prong collar work, you start, get the dog on a prong collar, introduce him to the prong to where he knows what the pressure feels like. You can do that inside the living room, get the dog comfy, and then you can do thresholds. I'm pointing at my door. You can do thresholds, and then get the dog out, get the thresholds right, then get the dog out on a walk, show the owners how to do the thresholds, and get out on the walk and do the structured walk, show them how to do that, show them how to create some really nice stuff there. And then, so you say you put a half an hour into talking and getting the dog on the prong to start, and then you do maybe 45 minutes of a walk, and then maybe have another 45, if I've done my math right, 45 to do place command and wrap up and show them how to do the prong, how to take the prong on and off, and all that good stuff. So if you get thresholds, walk, and place command happening, and the clients are invested and they're listening and they're going to do their homework for the next week or 2 weeks or whatever you set up, they'll come back with major results. Yeah. They will be really shocked about what they've got. They'll have a dog that's, probably won't be perfect on the walk, but will be tremendously improved. State of mind will be like really in a different gear. And then you'll have the place command also contributing to that outside, but also interior, giving a really nice structure and state of mind benefit inside the house, which is most people struggling with a calm dog in there. So you just tell your clients to leave the leash and prong on when they're supervising in the house, so they can have a tool to be able to communicate with the dog like that. And then set up your next session doing packages. And the next session you might work on, review. You've got an hour. You might work review a little bit, see how things are going. You might add sit. And then you might add the next one down and kind of work from there and just figure out logically what you want to do. But keep it bite-sized. Better to do just a couple things really good with your clients and have them really absorb it and understand it and not be overwhelmed than load all this stuff because you care so much, but overwhelm them and overload them to where they do all of the stuff just marginally well. And that's not what you want. Even if you only did a walk for 2 hours, that's life-changing. So keep it simple, keep it straightforward, and focus on less, but being really solid with it. And I'm always working on that because Laura knows. I mean, I can gab.
Okay, we're back. Sorry.
Are we on? Artem, you broke the system, buddy. We ran out of juice with the GoPro, so we're going low pro for you here. So just to wrap up, I don't know exactly where it cut off, but I really want you to go simple and deep, right? And that means go deep with whatever you're teaching rather than wide with a bunch of stuff. So make sure they get whatever they get really good, and you can always work with them down the line. And if you're not doing packages, then it's up to them. If they don't want, if they're comfy with just a walk and they didn't get everything else, that's on the client. So you have to allow the client that latitude to make those decisions.
But just getting them to be calm on the walk, just getting the dog to be calm on the walk and calm inside the house when they say, and correct it if they jump off. That's like
huge.
Mind blowing for a lot of owners.
Yeah. So that's it. Hopefully we answered it. I felt like we got pretty. I think we did pretty good with that one.
We did great.
Yeah. I felt like I think I was on my game today.
You were on fire today.
Yeah, I was. You
were amazing.
Well, I really appreciate that. Thanks. I think it's the candy talking. But anyways, guys, great to see you guys again. Thanks for submitting all your questions. I'm glad to see that we weren't unwanted anymore because there were only a few questions last time. So I'm glad to see it was just Thanksgiving. But we're looking forward to getting this one out to you, and we're really trying hard. We're shooting this early in the week, so we're gonna have. Here's our new concept: we post the questions that you can submit Saturday, and then the week's prior answers come out that same day. So hopefully that doesn't sound too confusing. But we're really trying to launch the questions and the last week's answers, not that week's questions, on the same day, to where everything happens on Saturday.
Q&A Saturday is Saturday.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do, but it's hard. So give us some latitude. We're trying hard.
All right.
See you guys. Take care. We'll see you next week.